Good evening, this is Eswatini TV News at 8, read to you by myself, Noxile Sitole, alongside Nomakabiso Nkambule. First up, let's have a look at our top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III has commended Lago for always respecting royal commands. The Prime Minister says the Kingdom of Eswatini is working hard to reduce the amount of electricity it imports from South Africa. The Deputy Prime Minister has met his office's portfolio committee in the House of Assembly to appraise them on certain issues that they are dealing with. And now the news in detail. His Majesty King Mswati III has applauded Lago for the commitment and respect towards a royal command. This was revealed by the leader of the regiment, Comandanyeni Makakula, when dispersing the regiment on behalf of Ingwenyama at Eswatini royal residence.
Lago started by singing and dancing umgubo while led by Tindvuna. Giving out a directive from His Majesty, Indvuna Comandanyeni Makakula said, His Majesty King Mswati III is grateful for the respect and for the availability when they are called to the royal residence.
Machaha, lalele, utsongandaba. Uyabonga imandla kakhulu majaha leniwafakile. Uyabongeka kakhulu majaha imandla niwafake kakhulu. Nithi bekanze sibinjetelwe ngiletipho letimbili. Kepha ke nikhombisile inhlonipho. Nalisekela live. Nalimela noma bekanze kulukhuni uyabongeka kakhulu majaha ingwenyama ithi kanginibongele kakhulu kufaka emandla nalabo bobabe njengoba bekumenyetha umhlaba nabangenile ehlathini bagawula. Uphila lokho majaha ningatsinwa nekuhlonipha nihloniphe betempilo majaha yibonga kakhulu umkhuhlala kwakhona kusingena ngani ngekulalela. Ingwenyama kamajaha nanamuhla ithi infisela indlela lenhle njengoba namuhla nichitheka nehamba neyophumula emakhaya niqhubeke nenhlonipho ledzingekako naloyo lophumako nimekhute njengendlela live kuze litoba ngilo majaha. Majaha utsongandaba namuhla libutho siyachitheka sibheke emakhaya. Usojalo ngemsoso omnyama kulobalithuli lodungandaba sembelebele sidlubula dlede sakalobamba mina ngisekuya kabo Mswati ngoba kabo Mswati akuvalwa ngembhalo kuvalwa ngamakhansi emadoda bayetha unophakathi.
On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Tapiso Dlamini at Eswatini royal residence.
The Prime Minister, Cleopas Dlamini, says Eswatini is determined to reduce electricity and energy imports from neighbouring South Africa and produce her own electricity in the near future. The Prime Minister was speaking during a tour of 3 energy projects under the Eswatini Electricity Company at Ngandweni, Nzevane and Komindaba.
Currently, the Kingdom of Eswatini imports about 80% of its energy, mainly electricity, in the Republic of South Africa, with only 5% locally produced. The Prime Minister, Cleopas Dlamini, toured 3 projects by the Eswatini Electricity Company, where he began his tour at Ngandweni substation, where he was told that the project started in September 2019 but had a delay due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The substation costs about 102 million emalangeni, and it is monitored and controlled in Mbabane. The Prime Minister proceeded to Nzevane, where he was explained to that it is sub-connected to the Ngandweni substation, also monitored in Mbabane as well. The tour ended at Komindaba solar station at Lavumisa, with a 10-megawatt substation that has already been commissioned and is up and running. The panels rotate according to the sun's movements from east to west, and it is digitally controlled. The 65-megawatt supply at Komindaba can supply the city of Mbabane with electricity. The Prime Minister says these projects are an eye-opener that government does bring development even in rural areas and will uplift the economy. He says he is impressed that this is an environmentally friendly project.
Lo mgomo wahulumende ukuthi sibe na gas lo wenele kuleli vele akithi akusasiko sikhathe singanani ungakafezeke ku strategic road map kuyabo economic recovery strategy konke nje lethi lemigomo yokuthuthukisa ku development ikhona lenhloso yokuthi gezi noma ke ngithi energy ihamba embili. Siyajabula kuva ukuthi le station lesi sika generator gezi long 10 megawatts le station sala eKomindaba esikhundleni sakaLavumisa siyabona ke ukuthi lo gesi lo generator la akusiye nje lo dunyisa tinfuthu kumbe lo wakhiwa ngetindlela letingahambisani nabo climate change. Lo gesi lo ugenerator ngekuthula impela njengoba siwabonile nje emapanel lapha kuthule kuseqhwala.
He says the 2019-2020 strategic roadmap and the post-COVID economic recovery strategy identified energy as a key pillar to fostering economic growth in the kingdom, thus importing to meet most of our energy needs through local generation. He says it is gratifying that the 10-megawatt solar power at Komindaba reduces electricity imports by at least 5%. He reiterates that the construction and completion of the Ngandweni substation and transmission from Singani to Ngandweni and Ngandweni and Nzevane are an example of the many network reinforcement projects developed to strengthen power supply. The acting managing director of the EEC, Ernest Mkonda, says 20% was subcontracted to Mswati and some material sourced locally. Mkonda says at Komindaba solar station there are 37,000 modules of panels needed for space because birds are a major challenge. He says cloudy weather can result to minimum production, which is 2 megawatts compared to the 10 megawatts on a normal sunny day. It is a 35-hectare project which they are grateful for to the traditional leaders of Komindaba. Reporting, I am Kian MCB, Lavumisa.
The Deputy Prime Minister Tem Masuku on Wednesday had a meeting with his office's portfolio committee in the House of Assembly to give them an update about some of the programs under his office. These programs include food distribution and child-headed households farming projects, amongst others.
On Wednesday this week, the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku had a meeting with his office's portfolio committee, members of the House of Assembly, giving them an update on some of the office's programs, including one on food distribution. Speaking during the meeting, Masuku said success of these programs lies upon the involvement of the committee, working closely with his office.
The office of the Deputy Prime Minister plays a critical role in the social structure I live. Lamanye matiko amqoka onke kepha leli liconzene nenhlitiyo yemuntu lapha kunala sibanakelelako labakhulile kusho ukuthi elderly kunalabo labaphila nekhubateka kukhona abantwana labaswele nalokuningi lokukhona kuleli tiko. Ngakho ke litiko lebekufanele ukuthi sihlale sibonisana, sihlale sibuka tinto letikhona, sigcwalise netikhebezi ngoba singetama lesikwetama silihhovisi kepha kuba netikhebezi letfuna kugcwaliswa, the gaps that singeke siwabone thina sifuca lomkhumbi. Bukhona benuke BFC-ke nalapho nekusivunulisa ukuthi asuphuma nibhekele lapha-ke ngoba seniphumeni lasale nento akuthi nekuthi lamhla kulo mhlangano lona sidathi nasicedzile noma-ke nasisacedza i-topic nge-topic sivunulisane.
Chairperson of the committee, Derek Masugu, says they need to be updated about these programs for proper dissemination.
Sina labanye bahlonishwa uvase kuthiwa enkundleni yakho mhlonishwa bekwemukela itolo. Sibe singadi thina. Siyacela ke tiko lokuthi lokwenteka namhlanje ngilana nje kumethula kuyemukelwa lomla. Nako ngishayelwe indvuna seyithi emhlonishwa uvile yini ukuthi mina cha ngikeva ngiva ngawe nje ndvuna. Akukabe kusasebenzisa kahle nalaba lesinabo le. But ngiyayithanda na inkulumo lengena na presenter lethi nawo umhlonishwa uthathe lisaka unikete gogo athi gogo vele naku la kwangena livoti lami khona namhla sengiyathola. Nawo nase kwenteka ngalendlela okwenteka ngakulenyenzawo khanze ukuthi umhlonishwa kade usuke emukelwa. Uyamthengisa lesivene ikakhulu lesimo lesikuso. Ngithi ke angibonge nangibuka lo hlelo la ngivumo yami uyajabula.
Other members of the Portfolio Committee also emphasized on the importance of the committee's involvement, which will then contribute to the development of the country. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samgal Suekoza with Fumiko Sinsinisa Sulweni.
Since Eswatini has surpassed the World Health Organization's target of vaccinating 10% of the country's population by the end of September, Eswatini has set her own target to vaccinate 60 to 70% of the country's population by the end of December this year. This was said by the Minister of Health, Lizi Nkosi.
On March this year, the World Health Organization called upon member states of the African region to at least vaccinate 10% of their population by the end of September. The Minister of Health, Lizi Nkosi, says since Eswatini has passed that target, the country's goal now is to have 60 to 70% of the country's population vaccinated by December this year.
By the 3rd week of August, we'd already reached 10%. However, what I have noticed is that since then, the vaccination program has slowed down quite a lot. We are today, as we speak, at about 15% of the population vaccinated. Our goal is not the 10%. We're glad that we've reached it. Our goal is not even the 30% that WHO would like, particularly African countries, to have reached by the end of December. Our goal is the 70 to 80% where we would be looking at herd immunity. At this point, we would be very happy with just reaching 60% by December. And this is very important because when we come to that point, then we can allow our lives to go back to normal. We can have sporting events again, we can open stadiums again, we can open concert halls again, we can open entertainment again, because that would mean if more people are vaccinated, less and less people are going to get infected. Because as you vaccinate, you protect yourself, of course, from severe illness. But also, as you vaccinate, when you are vaccinated, you are less infected by the virus.
The minister pleaded with Mswati to take the COVID-19 jab in order for the country to achieve the herd immunity. She says the country is expecting COVID-19 vaccines that are suitable for children as young as 12 years old by the end of this month or the beginning of October. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgal Suekoza with Fumiko Sinsinisa Babane.
Chief Kasawangwane of Tomindaba area at Lavumisa hails their majesties for development at Galavumisa despite being located in the rural areas. The chief says Lavumisa has access to clean water, schools, energy systems and clinics as part of development. He was speaking during the Prime Minister's tour of the Eswatini Electricity Company's projects.
Chief Kasawangwane of Komindaba area in the Lavumisa area hails their majesties for the development in his area, including adequate water supply, schools, clinics, since they had only Matsanjeni hospitals, as well as the solar panel, which has changed the face of Komindaba. He says there's currently a 10 million Malangeni Somdongo Matsanjeni ongoing project. He also says there are 3 community halls now, which has been built under his area.
Imphakathi ingcenye yawo bese siwafakile sesiwakhile emahola imphakathi le-3 le phansi kwa MP Cruiser lesithi minister wezinkundla lamuhla kwanyalo ingwenyama seyimele kusinika lidamu seliyaqala nje nalo liyaloloma lelikhulu ngifike lapha emakliniki kude kunana sibhedlela sasemathanjeni lesikhulu kepha ensalitshe sesifakile iclinic through ingwenyama ezindwendweni le sesifakile iclinic through ingwenyama kalavumisa le Durban seyikhona iclinic tikolwa lese tikhona kuleli ife leli ngoba likhulu elife nebokunene leli.
He further says there are certain projects that have been halted due to the recent political unrest, but forgives all those involved. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kiani Msibi, Komindaba.
To bridge the existing digital divide on education, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, has established an education sustainable development program themed Sustainability Starts with Teachers. This was said by UNESCO Eswatini Office's General Secretary Phumzile Hlophe in commemoration of the International Literacy Day.
Since 1967, countries started celebrations on literacy on the 8th of September. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, Eswatini's Office Secretary General Phumzile Hlophe says to bridge the existing gap on education, UNESCO established an Education for Sustainable Development program themed Sustainability Starts with Teachers, where they train educators and lecturers.
We have introduced the program, as we are saying. The program is entitled Sustainability Starts with the Teacher, where we are teaching the teacher educators on how to incorporate sustainability education in the curriculum so that they can roll it out to the students. We saw a gap. It's not an initiative for Eswatini only. It's a Southern African initiative where UNESCO has seen the gap that in order to make education more practical or being sustainable, we have to introduce that program, because we noticed that most of the students, you find that they can do more when they practice what is called sustainable development.
Chief Executive Officer at Sebenta National Institute, Dr. Dibegile Manana, says they have about 300 learners under Sebenta who will be sitting for their external examination this year.
We have learners or students who are mostly youth, and some of them, of course, are adults, that are going to sit for their external examinations, and their examination center is Sebenta National Institute. At Sebenta National Institute, we started off with non-formal primary education, whereby alongside the free primary education, we were tasked with helping learners who, because of age, they cannot go for formal education. Whilst we were doing that, those learners then found it proper or necessary to write an examination. And the examination that they write is the same examination as the formal education learners.
UNESCO says despite progress made by countries, an estimate of 773 million young people and adults still lack basic literacy education. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Suekoza with Fumiko Sinsinisa Babane.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with other stakeholders, has launched a COVID-19 testing and vaccination site at Mbaga. Lubombo Principal Health Administrator Happy Tabeza says this will allow people from the Lubombo region, especially those around Mbaga and surrounding areas, to test and vaccinate against COVID-19.
On Wednesday, the Ministry of Health in the Lubombo region, in collaboration with other stakeholders, which include the National Disaster Management Agency amongst others, launched a health site at Mbaga Railway, where residents will be able to test for COVID-19 and also get vaccinated effective from Monday next week.
We are reaching out to the community of Mbaga and the neighborhood so that they can be able to access the COVID-19 vaccine. We are having the J&J, so the people that are eligible are the 18 years, from 18 years upwards. So long as you have your ID, then we are able to assist you with the vaccination. We are reaching out to the people of Lubombo.
7 days, Tabetse Malinza Chiefdom Councillor extended their gratitude to the ministry for decentralizing such important services.
Loko ngikole lesikhala ngako ukuthi tinvatiye kubantu sishoma kunje lokhu lebakwendile siyajabula kakhulu.
On Tuesday, about 171,325 people got vaccinated for COVID-19. Reporting, I am Tembelihle Makuchwa with Temba Shabangu, Mbaga.
And now let's have a look at our financial markets.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Good evening once again. You are still watching Eswatini TV. Let's have a look at our sports news. Zesco United head coach Mumamba Numba says they do not know much about their opponents, Royal Leopards, who they face in the CAF Champions League preliminary round on Saturday at Mavuso Sports Centre. Numba says they are confident that they will get a good result in the first league encounter. Numba was speaking upon their arrival at the King Mswati III International Airport.
Zesco United Football Club landed at the King Mswati III International Airport, Skopje, on Wednesday ahead of the CAF Champions League preliminary round encounter against MTN Premier League champions Royal Leopards this coming Saturday at the Mavuso Sports Centre in Manzini. At the arrival, Mumamba Numba, who is the team coach, highlighted that they do not know much about their opponents, but that will be not an excuse in the field of play come Saturday.
I think we've come with all our arsenals, the players that we expected to come with. I think we don't have injuries in the team. We don't have much insight about our opponents, but I think we've done our homework and we expect the best for our team.
One of the team's key player, Winston Kalengo, believes the clash will be an interesting one, with the two teams being their country's league champions.
We know these opponents they once played a Zambian club. Recently we don't know much about our opponents. I believe all we are going to depend on is our strength. Sure. Surely every game is a tough game, especially playing the Champions League. You have to know that you're playing against your fellow champions. So we know that it's going to be a tough game.
Zesco United landed with a delegation of 37 members, including players and officials. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Skopje.
Local boxer Thabiso Dlamini says he has started preparations for next year's Commonwealth Games to be staged in Birmingham, England. Dlamini says he will use the upcoming World Championship Games that will be organized in Serbia next month to evaluate his fitness levels and progress.
Thabiso Dlamini, aged 28 years old, was amongst the 4 athletes that represented the country in the recent Tokyo Olympic Games, where he was knocked out in preliminary round in his first bout of the Olympics against Cameroonian Mengu Aisse. After that disappointment in Tokyo, Dlamini has since started preparation for the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England, a chance he believes is expected to deliver.
So looking forward to my preparations and my Commonwealth Games. Let's start with
Dlamini says starting preparations is one way to ensure that he gets everything right. Dlamini says the Serbian World Championship Games next month will give him a better preparations where he could as well qualify for the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris.
Now all my world qualifiers, my world championships in terms of qualifying for the coming Olympics summer 2024.
The Serbian World Championship will start on the 22nd of October to the 8th of November this year. For Eswatini TV Sports, Mswati, Mbabane.
That's all for now. Before I head out, let's have a look at our top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III has commended Lago for always respecting royal commands. The Prime Minister says the Kingdom of Eswatini is working hard to reduce the amount of electricity it imports from South Africa. The Deputy Prime Minister has met his office's portfolio committee in the House of Assembly to appraise them on certain issues that they are dealing with. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team here at Eswatini TV. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.